What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay, my journey to 10,000 live listings. Today, we have an awesome topic in the Mastermind group, which is things that we do to create work-life balance. Now, I want to preface this with the fact that I think it's not going to be smooth sailing. In fact, it's sometimes just putting out disaster after disaster in life, but there are things you can do proactively to reduce the strain and try to make as much work-life balance as we can, and also to promote health, because if you have good health, then you can do a lot of different stuff with that. So today we're each going to share two things that we do to create work-life balance. Let's start with Ashley. Why don't you give us one and we'll go in order. What do you do to manage the mayhem?
I definitely I do try to schedule my day, and it doesn't always work out perfectly, but I schedule some time for me first with my run. I do a daily run just for stress relief. And that's probably why the only reason I'm consistent with it is because I do it because I enjoy it and I get away and I listen to a podcast and it's very therapeutic for me. And then I schedule time with my kids. I make sure, okay, when I'm with them, I'm not listing generally. I'm not shipping. I've taken care of that outside of time with them. And my time with them is reserved for playing Legos, reading time, games. That's one way, because when they all merge, when I'm working while they're awake and I'm just telling them to be quiet and putting on a movie because I have stuff to do, I don't feel I don't feel my best as a mom, like if I'm doing that all the time. So schedule, I would just say, scheduling my day. And now it's just, if I can stick to my schedule really well, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
As far as your run, is that 7 days a week?
No, it's like 5 or 6 days a week. 5 miles, just my 5 miles. Like I just
Wow,
get it in, and
that's awesome.
I'm not fast. But I do. I've always loved running. I've done it for years, and it's just my way of. It's like my daily anti-anxiety pill I take. Okay,
Do
I've
you
done
track
my
your sleep?
run. I've got my endorphins going. Okay, now I can handle the day. I'm not perfect
How
at
does
it.
it work? Do you like your eyes open and you go into your running shoes, or how do you manage that type of a habit? Because a lot of people want that habit but don't have
Mm-hmm.
it.
A good thing is running with friends. I have mom friends around me who like to run
Okay.
in the morning, so that gets me up on some of those early mornings. Other than that, I'm up. I just know I don't. The only thing I'm not motivated by you got to do this and willpower and grit your teeth and get up. Like that doesn't motivate me. What motivates me is the feeling I know I'll have after. Like that, just if I can just imagine, I'm running around the lake, it's so pretty, and I'm listening to something amazing, and I feel so good. Like I'm like, I love that feeling, and I want to have that. And then I know how I feel when I don't do that, and I feel terrible. So all I have to do is think about how I feel, and that gets me motivated to do it.
That's
But if I
awesome.
did it out of I have to do my 5 miles and I have to go this speed and blah blah, then I would hate it for sure.
I don't
So
think that works if you have to do it. But in that being said, I wish that I had a gym in my bedroom, and if I didn't work out, the door wouldn't open, so I couldn't go do anything. So that would be awesome, because I'd be forced to work out, and it wouldn't have to be willpower. It'd just be like you have to.
right.
Let's move to Prince. You have a pretty good workout routine as well, I believe. But why don't you talk about your first thing you do?
First thing is definitely eating healthy. I think a lot of keeping your mind right and keeping everything functioning properly is about eating healthy. It's like the same thing as collecting debt, right? If you're gonna keep collecting debt over time, little by little, it adds up and it's gonna eat you down. But if you eat unhealthy, it's not good for you anyways. So I just invested in having my meals prepped for me. It's a little costly, but I think that in the long run it should pay off in terms of being healthy. But I mean, even beyond being healthy, I need to find a wife. So I need to look good, feel good, and so that's what I'm doing right now. And to piggyback off that, I try to work out at least 5 to 6 days a week, because I think that just having that routine and for me, I don't have to try hard, because it's something I've been doing for so long that it's just kind of habitual for me. So it's not stressing over it. I just kind of go do my thing, come back. And for anyone that's trying to work out and it's hard for them, I think it's really important that you walk in there with a plan, with a purpose, so you know what you're going to be doing and what goal you're trying to get out of that. Because if you don't, you're clueless, you're going to be so demotivated and you're just gonna be lost, and you're gonna lose your feeling of working out at the gym. So
That's a good point on the collecting the debt, because I think some study that I can't quote, and the statistics are probably wrong, is saying that people are overweight because they eat 30 to 200 too many calories a day, and you're not even going to notice that. That's like 3 to 10 bites too much, but over time accumulated, you're definitely not going to notice any bad effect every day, just like you're not going to notice any good effect from eating one salad. One of my favorite YouTubers is Brandon Carter, and people will email him like, "Oh, I ate a salad today," and he has a default response that says like, "Congratulations, you've accomplished almost nothing," because like it's such a small thing that in either direction you're not even going to notice on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Yeah,
and I mean,
that's so funny.
You just need to know, like, because a handful of almonds, it could equal like a whole bowl of broccoli. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same weight in calories. So people don't really like understand that, and I think it's kind of important to educate yourself in that. I just want to kind of give a little story about my dad. He used to be like really frugal. Like, I mean, he was good with his money, so he'd save a lot of money. I guess he would be frugal with his diet often, and I guess over time it caught up to him. He started going to the hospital a little bit. He had to pay a lot of bills. So he finally, that's what it took for him to kind of understand that, no, I need to invest in my diet and being healthy and everything. So now he's finally making all these juices and everything and being healthy. So, that money is great and all, but it's not going to matter 10, 15 years down the line when you need to start paying bills for the hospital bills. So it's not good.
I think this also works for people who are trying to gain weight. Like I was 140 pounds at 6 feet tall in college. I went to school with Ashley. Somehow I didn't run into her. But I wanted to gain weight. So I had all this food with me. So it was just available for me to eat all day. And I think that's really important. If you have healthy meals around you, you're going to eat that. You're going to eat what's most convenient. And if junk food's more convenient, you're going to eat that, especially if you're tired. If you go 10 hours without eating, and then you see a way to quickly get sugar into your body versus broccoli, you're never going to pick broccoli. So,
yeah, 100%, 100%. When I go to school, like outside of all my classes, there's like vending machines of all kinds of garbage. So I always try to bring like something in a Ziploc bag or something. So when I do get hungry, I eat whatever's closest to me. So,
That's right. Holly, what do you think?
So my first thing was going to be food as well. I've never been really great. I definitely didn't grow up in a family that valued correct diet. I did not know water should be consumed regularly until I went to college, and people thought it was weird to buy sweet tea with every meal. So I make it a point every day to have a smoothie every morning. And that smoothie has my day's vegetables and fruit in it, and it's just taken care of. I invested in the NutriBullet because you can spend a lot of money on things that don't actually make it so that it can be enjoyable to drink. But that appliance really works for me. So every morning at a minimum, it's spinach, tomatoes, some fruit, usually blueberries, yogurt, and maybe flax protein and banana, and then I'm good for the day. And I know I've at least done my best, and then I can at least not focus on it for the rest of the day.
Kale feels left out. You need to put some kale in that smoothie and some ginger.
Shout out kale.
Kale's in everything right now.
Shout out kale. Don't forget your quinoa. Super fooded up.
I know.
Maybe even throw in some guacamole's pretty good too.
Avocado's good.
I do the smoothie for lunch, but I love it. So let's go to Mary. Mary, what is your first thing that you like to do?
Well, kind of piggyback off what Prince said. A little bit of food too with Holly. I like to do. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I like my tea in the morning. I think you guys see that mostly in my story. And there's tea for everything. There's the brand that I have is Yogi Tea, so they have calming tea. They have positive energy. They have all sorts of different types of names for their tea, but I feel like they do work. So when I do need energy, I have a little bit of the tea. I do have some smoothies too. I like to work out about 3 to 4 days a week. I'm trying to make it into more of a habit. I used to be a runner like Ashley. I used to be a sprinter in college. in track, and then a hurdler too because I was so tall. And then cross country kind of went in after college. I did that longer mileage. But now what I do is I just work out. I weightlift for the most part, and I feel like turning it into a habit is telling myself that I have an appointment with myself tomorrow or the next day or this afternoon. And like I think you mentioned, Chris, it's like you never want to be late. You're usually late for other people. You kind of prioritize those people. But why can't you prioritize yourself? You know, if you say, I have to work out tomorrow, I'm going to work out. You told yourself that you're going to work out. So I kind of like remember that I said that to myself. I forced myself to get out there. I don't know where I read it, this tip, but they say if you lay out your clothes, your shoes, your socks, your entire outfit before you place it like at the end of your bed, you know you're going to wake up. The moment you wake up, you're literally going to step on it, almost like forcing you, like get into those clothes and get out and work out. So I like to do that every other day, probably, just because I do need like a rest day in case I'm sore. Another thing that I do, besides the tea and the smoothie that I like to incorporate into my superfoods and flax and all that, is I decrease my social media intake on Saturdays. So my boyfriend and I have this no social media thing on Saturdays where I decrease all sorts of contact with any type of platforms that I'm usually on. And I find myself, like, I think in the beginning it was almost like second instinct to get on my phone and immediately go to that icon. And I caught myself like 2-3 times where I was already at the page and I was subconsciously, I didn't know what I was doing. But it's kind of insane to me how we're kind of accustomed to a habit that takes up a lot of our time and can also bring a little bit more pressure to what we have to do because we haven't finished our actual work. Or like myself, I have things that I leave hanging, and then I just think that I deserve a break to be on Instagram for a little bit, when in reality, I haven't completed one thing. So I feel like decreasing my social media has, for Saturdays, that's what we're doing for now. But I can see how that can definitely be beneficial for the long run, incorporating it to like more days than one. So that's usually what I do in order to help like create a little bit of a lifestyle balance. That's what I do. Also, I wanted to mention something that Prince said when I was being raised by my family in like a Latino heritage. My mom would also feed us like just being super frugal with what they would purchase and not incorporating all the benefits or the nutrients that I had. But as obviously I grew up to learn a lot more about the benefits, I realized that people think fitness or eating healthier is a little bit more expensive than it is to eat out. But if you really, in the big spectrum of things, if you think fitness is expensive, imagine how much illnesses are. So you definitely want to invest in your body because that's what we have to live in.
That's true. Also, I have noticed, like, I used to party in college. So like not partying
Nice.
and not eating junk food and exercising has added like 20 hours a week to my week. Like you sleep less, you sleep better. You don't spend as much time thinking about food if you have it all prepared. And you get a lot more time with that if you have your exercise scheduled and you start your day with that. Today I was listening to Jocko, that Navy SEAL dude, and he disagrees with the fact that like you have to, like you only have a finite amount of energy and it depletes during the day. He thinks that with each task you complete in a row, you get more and more momentum. So his Instagram is like 4:30 in the morning is his watch. And people are like, I watch your feed every morning. When I see that 4:30 post, I'm up and I go do it. Cause he's just like, he gains momentum through the day instead of the opposite where people are saying, do your most important thing first because you're going to be dead the rest of the day. He doesn't believe that. He's like, with each thing you knock down, you just keep going. I've noticed a lot of people.
It pushes him to keep going. That's awesome.
Yeah, it pushes him. And then he's like, I'm less tired. Like I'm not sleeping 6 hours because I'm hardcore. I just wake up. I'm fully rested after 6 hours because I'm eating perfectly healthy. I'm not distracted. There's a certain time when I don't use my phone anymore. Technology's off at like 6 p.m. for him. That's really important too. If we can schedule like completely turning off stuff. So that's cool. Laura, why don't you start, or do you have an idea or a thing that you do?
Okay, so I have a confession. I am the unhealthy person in this group. I do not eat healthy. I eat leftover chicken nuggets that my kids leave on the table, pizza, you name it, I will eat it. So that's something I actually have to work on. But my husband eats healthy because he has some health issues that he has to have, like a low sodium diet and a lot of vegetables and things of that nature. And he's always been into working out. When I was younger, I was a soccer player. I played soccer my entire life. I had a scholarship to school for soccer. So when I'm playing a sport, I'm 100% like dedicated. I'm on hyperdrive, just like with eBay and anything else, like my businesses. When I put my mind to it, like I'm on hyperdrive. But if I have other things going on, my health takes a back burner. And that really caught up with me this past week because I was sick with bronchitis and the rest of my household was too. And on top of all the family issues we had, the biggest thing that I've been focusing on is mental health, not just physical. And for me, I am a coffee drinker. So the first thing I do is, like, my coffee maker is ready in the morning. It's already preset, and that coffee is waiting for me when I wake up. And just to like sit, reflect on the week, reflect on the day ahead in the morning is kind of like my solitude moment. I get up before my kids and it's just me and that cup of coffee. And for me, that's kind of like my meditation moment of the day. Sometimes I'll pray, sometimes I'll just meditate, I'll just think about the things I have to do, I'll write in my planner, you know, whatever. That's just my me time. And even if it's just 5 minutes before my kids wake up, or maybe 15, that is my time. And then what I do the night before my day is I always reset the day. I call it reset. I'll pick up my house. I'll make sure all the dishes are done. I'll make sure things are done for that hour right after my kids go to bed. That's like my reset time. I'll pick out my outfit. I'll do everything I need to do to get my day ready tomorrow. If I'm taking pictures, I'll have everything lined up in order for the pictures I need done tomorrow. If I'm doing shipping, I'll have everything at least in the box that I use to put everything in to get my shipping done. I just have it all ready. So then when I'm going to my next task, I can just go boom, boom, boom. Everything's done in advance. If I don't do that, I'm scrambling all the next day completely, because with my kids and everything, I already have a limited time that I can do things on my own. And I really appreciate the time that I spend by myself, and I need to use it wisely. So when I reset, it just really helps my day completely. And I also have weekly things that I do. My husband and I have really made it a real big thing to spend quality time together, if not every week, at least every other week, because there's been a lot of stuff going on with our family health. All my family's evacuated with the hurricane in the South right now. So with all the stress we've had, like, we really try to make it a point to have a date night at least once a week. And I planned with each kid the same thing too. I'll plan time with my son where it's just him and I. And I'll also plan time with my daughter where it's just her and I. Because, you know, I want them to have individual attention and not have to share me all the time. And honestly, that's just my mental health is what I'm working on right now. And I know, though, with my physical health, I need to eat better and exercise and do all those things. But right now, we're kind of surviving. Like, we're in survival mode.
Sorry.
So, somebody sold something. I heard that.
I actually like that noise and get super excited when that happens. So you can keep those on, because I thought they were me. So that's a little depressing. But besides that, I like that noise.
I was gonna say, Laura, you're not allowed to have me time. You're supposed to share your Poshmark closet during coffee. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that me time is great. I mean, I actually mentioned that too. Starting the day with a little bit of me time. A lot of people meditate. A lot of people have coffee. You go for a walk, go for a run. That's all taking care of yourself first, and then giving you some space to take care of other people. Kevin, what do you do?
All right, so I've been sitting here taking notes on my phone as you guys talk, because I think each person touched on something that was important. I did want to say to Laura, though, I'm really sorry to hear about your family getting evacuated. That's terrible. I know there's a lot of people going through that. So anybody that is, my prayers are with you. So I start my day printing my shipping labels. I try to sleep about 6 to 7 hours every single day. I read something that they used to say it was 8 hours, but now it's acceptable to get 7. So I try to sleep around that much. I wish I could sleep less so I could do more. So I print the labels and I answer emails as soon as I wake up. I usually wake up around 5 or 5:30, and then I start, I start right with my nutrients. I'm super big on eating healthy. So I take Ginkgo biloba, which is some kind of supplement that helps you stay sharp, and it's helpful with memory. And then I have all my meals prepped for the week. And on IG, most people that follow me will see I try to show people what I buy. It's not expensive to get healthy stuff. The benefit of eating healthy is it's the investment on yourself. And I think somebody said that earlier, I think Mary actually said it. If you're not feeling good, you're not going to want to get the amount of stuff done that you have. So when I eat healthy, I realized that I felt good. So for about 3-4 months now, every day, everything's been prepped for me. I usually alternate between some kind of steak or chicken. And I do that with red potatoes, like 1 cup of a carb, red potatoes or brown rice. And you can get that for like real cheap. I think it's like $8. Vegetables, broccoli, I do that. Tons of fruit. Anytime I'm having a snack, I try to eat fruit just because that gives me the energy to get through my day. I have tons of stuff that I try to get done. I work out every single day. Usually I start with, I used to run, but it's tough. I played basketball in school and my knees took a big hurting. So running actually sometimes would sometimes affect me that way. So now what I do is I jump rope. So I get up every day and I do like 500 to 1,000 reps of jump rope, and I love it. That's how I start. And then I always do 10 to 15 minutes of core. That's usually like a plank and leg lifts. So I usually do like 50 leg lifts. Every day I alternate a workout, whether it's my arms, back, chest, try, by whatever. I alternate some kind of workout. If I don't do that, like when I work out in the morning, I am so much more energized and maybe it's not energy, maybe it's mentally, I'm just so much more ready to tackle my day. So without that, I feel as if I didn't achieve something and I feel guilty. I don't miss things. Like when I plan on doing something, I do it and I just hold myself to that. So I've been doing that that basic routine every single day, probably for like 3 or 4 months solid now, the meal prep and the workout. And I don't see myself changing that. I'm super dedicated on it. I ordered some stuff off GNC earlier to try to keep up with it. I do like a pre-workout. And then at the end of the night, if I don't have anything creative to make or anything like that sitting around, I'll just do a lean protein shake. It's just, you can do like low-fat milk and just the protein shake. If I try to consume like 20 grams of protein with each meal, and I try to eat like 3 times a day and just have little snacks of fruit along the way. And you can do a lot with a little bit. I think the other day on IG, I posted a story about like $45 was what it cost me for the whole week. And I just ate super healthy from that. So I love it. I do it every single day and I swear by it.
Awesome. So my thing for the first thing is, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger says sleep faster. So if you guys want to get that done, that's how he's able to accomplish everything. He was saying that he wants to go back into acting. And they're saying, oh, like what kind of roles are you looking for or whatever? And he's like, nope, I'm just going to start back at the beginning with whatever I can get and work my way back up to the top of the food chain. This is a guy that's already achieved mega level 10,000 and everything that he's done, but he's still humble enough to start at the beginning, which I think is cool. But for me, the first thing I'm going to talk about is that I have a scheduled date twice a week with my girlfriend. Today is our 6-year anniversary. So pretty cool. That's a long time. And we have...
Congrats, buddy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She made me a slideshow today of we've had 2 dates a week for 6 years, basically. That's like 600 dates. So lots of stuff. We always take photos of what we eat, what we do. And those are like the big rocks. I feel like in the metaphor that I talk about sometimes, where you put those in first and then all the little things you fill in around it. And I never ever regret taking the time to drive somewhere to meet a friend, or spend time with her. It's always I do my best to not check my phone, even though that's hard. But ideally, I think I would have when I'm doing things, my first thing is that I want to do less things but be better at them, and I want to have less relationships that are deeper. I want to have less activities and be better at them. I wish my parents had not told me that I could do anything. I wish they had told me you can only do a couple things. Then I would have changed my outlook as a kid, because I heard you can do anything as you can do everything. That's not the case. I would, not that my parents are cool, but just, I think that would have been more focused. And then instead of thinking like, as an example, I'm really excited about Amazon FBA, but I'm also aware I can do both, just one at a time. It's not going to be gone. Like, I get it. There's things that I'm doing to try to keep my account open and such, but like, I'm not overwhelmed at the fact I can't get to it yet. So I'm just thinking, we underestimate how much we can do over a couple of years. And then, everyone's to-do list, January 1st is 100 things long, and since then I have changed my year to basically 90 days. So I can pull that back. I have a 90-day goal, no more yearly goals, because it's just too long of a time. And I don't want, I feel so many people give up around January 15th on their year-long thing, but the year's not over. You have so many weeks. And now my inventory system that I keep track of what week it is, I can kind of tell where I am in the year. So 34, 35, 36th week. And it gives me an awareness of how fast things are moving, and to try to get the most out of each relationship. Each time I spend more time on something, by default, you're spending less time on other things. And I just really, I like the idea. And this is the I think his name is Cal Newport, the guy that does the, what's that book called? Maybe it's not Cal Newport. It's called Essentialism. I don't know who wrote that book, but the idea of focusing on less but better. And then once you do that,
minimalist.
Yeah. It's just, you just get really, really good at a couple things and you achieve mastery. And I want to master my relationships and know, like, this is why I can't cheat on my girlfriend, because she knows me so well that like for as an example, if I eat candy or something, like, cause sometimes I break and I need that sugar high, she'll know right away because I'm acting differently. Like, she can tell if my diet was different. So like, that's what happens when you're really in tune. She's an expert in my behavior. She'll be like, why are you so excited this late at night? Right. So that'll be the thing. And for me, if I could eat candy and a Monster for breakfast, I would prefer that, but I don't. So it sucks that, but yeah, you got to have everything available, because I will default to sugar and caffeine if everything is not set up. So let's go back into round two if you guys are ready. Who started? Oh, it was Ashley. Ashley, you have another idea?
I really love what Laura said, because we get each other just because of the kid factor, right? Like, it's just like, we were talking about diets. I'm like, I eat. How quickly can I get it in my body? Because that's usually, we're rushing to get somewhere, or I'm eating scraps from the kids, or like, if you eat when the kids are around, they're like, want anything you're eating. Doesn't matter what it is. They climbing on you, Mom, I want some. So yeah, I do need to, I think it would be good if I planned at least a couple meals a week that are just me by myself, that I'll really enjoy and be intentional about. But I love the idea of getting all my stuff prepped the night before. It's something I don't do. I usually just kind of crash at night when I'm done prepping shipments or for Amazon, and like, don't think about the next day's prepping for, eBay. So I think it would be a really good idea if I, the night before, got all my stuff pulled out that I need to ship, and then ship it right after I get home from my run. That would be ideal. But also, Chris, I love what you said about relationships, mastering relationships. That is the most important thing for me. And I think whenever I'm feeling really stressed, or like, like just feeling the pressure or feeling out of whack, it's because I'm not happy with how the relationships are going. Like, it's mostly just me with my kids. because I know for me, like, I'm not going to look back and be like, I wish I did more eBay and Amazon. Like, I wish I just did more while my kids were little. I'm going to go back and go, why was I so insane about it and like ignored my kids, while like, and I'm not saying I do, but like some days if I put on a movie and I'm like, I just got to get this thing done, like I don't know, I just feel crappy. I'm not being the most effective mom that I want to be. Like, and I mean, I'm not saying that movies are bad. It's every mom needs a break every now and then, but yeah, like I just like the big perspective. I lose sight of perspective. That's my problem. So I don't know what that means for me though. Do I slow down for a little bit and like get that back into order, or like, I don't know, that's where you guys can maybe help me out. Cause I just I want to feel at the end of my day, like satisfied, like, okay, I feel good about how I mommed and how I did my entrepreneurial thing. And lately I just haven't been. I'm not satisfied with anything.
Can I respond, Chris?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. So I feel you 100%. Let me start by that. And I think it's every mom's struggle, right? I mean, we're constantly answering to somebody else before we answer to our own aspirations first. So I think that your relationship with your kids is not always going to be 100%. And it's just like any relationship in your life. Like for a marriage, for instance, like you're going to have to carry the load sometimes at 80% when your spouse is at 20, and the opposite way around, and I mean, I don't think it's any different with our kids, Ashley. I mean, sometimes you can only give so much, and it should also be that way for our business too, right? I mean, if we are, really killing ourselves in other areas of our life, like our family and health issues, or just things that are a little bit higher on the food chain than our business, then unfortunately the business might have to take a little bit of back seat. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think it's entirely intentional. And I think it's a good goal to have, actually, that you can be able to balance yourself where the teeter-totter will push you more at the moment, and as long as you even back out when the time comes, then I think that's what's important more than anything.
I think this is an interesting point. I had Lexi on the call last week, the 14-year-old reseller, and she said on the call that her parents are both entrepreneurs and they never miss anything. They go to every single recital, both of them. They don't, and that's one thing I think everyone aspires to be able to make everything. She's like, it doesn't appear to me, not that I'm judging them, but they don't look like super wealthy or I don't know if they are or not. But the fact that they've prioritized that so that as a kid, she knows and she can tell, like when she looks in the audience, I'm sure that both her parents are there. That's extremely challenging to get to the point where your parents don't miss anything. And so that makes me, I want to be that kind of parent one day. I think that's cool. And that's available if you're an entrepreneur, if you can fit it all in and stack enough cash that you can buy that time. I think that's the point. Like if you are making more money, but your relationships are not getting better, that's kind of an issue. You should be able to get some of that time back, at least a little bit. Like maybe, and I would almost want to sacrifice, like your business can grow a little bit slower so you don't miss that event. But I just think that's why we're all entrepreneurs. We can get to the point where I can't imagine her. She's like self-motivated because she can see it. And I hear, like people like Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income says that he and his wife can take their kids to school every day, both of them. And they're never like, well, we could have made another $200 if we didn't do that. Like, it's just, it all comes down to what kind of person you want to be with. But then they're also mastering their relationship with their kids, I think, when you get to that point. Well, let's go to Prince. So Prince, you're kind of proactively, you mentioned you're looking for a wife. So you're in an earlier stage. So it's kind of interesting. You get to see all walks of life in this call.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like truly looking. It's kind of a joke,
Right.
but if anyone comes by, I'm not gonna be like no. But I think one of the biggest things I've been looking for in like life balance recently, especially with like school starting and everything, now that I have more things thrown my way, is waking up early. For me personally, waking up early is like a huge thing. It basically dictates how my day goes for me. I think a lot of people here have felt, or even feel that when you wake up late in the day, you just feel sluggish and you feel like the day's over. You don't feel motivated to do any more work. When I wake up earlier and I start doing tasks like the guy you mentioned, Jacko, the Navy SEAL, I have to check him out. But I completely agree with him. I think that when I start doing more and more tasks, I feel more motivated to do more because I feel like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, let's see how much I can get done. And the more I get done, I'm getting like this inner fulfillment in myself. So it just feels good at the end of the day when you've like worked hard and everything, adds up and you just feel good. So definitely wake up early is a huge one for me. I'm trying to prioritize that.
Also, the night before, like Charles Schwab and a lot of people, the night before when they're planning, they write down the 3 things they want to get done the next day. And if you keep those 3x5 cards of what you want to do, and like some people hold it in their hand the whole day. They just don't want to forget. Like if I don't get these 3 things done, it's a waste, and that's it. If I get these 3 things done, the rest not getting done is fine. I'm okay with at least getting these 3 things done. And then at the end of the year, you have a stack of them, and you're like, I'm a boss. I did 1,000 things this year that I wanted to do. So that's a cool thing you can do that I don't do. I should do. But that's a night before doing it. And then some people will write it down and then through osmosis, they'll put it on their pillow so they can absorb that thing through their brain while they're sleeping. Like you can do cool stuff like that to hack yourself. But I like that idea of 3 things you want to get done the next day, no matter what. And, most of the times the 3 things that you need to get done tomorrow are the 3 things you want to do the least. So you kind of have to run towards the truth and the pain and that's suffering and not suffering. Like I don't want to equate working out to suffering, but it can be hard. And I think that part is interesting. One last point before we move to Mary was Jocko was talking about how there's very, very little suicide and depression in poor areas because people like it's such a struggle that even exists that doesn't really come up. Like right. It's kind of a first world problem. So like as you're just trying to survive and make it and you have hope for a better life and that makes you generally happier also. So that is interesting. Mary, what's your another idea?
Another idea also that I did was kind of plan out my days and know that I have certain things for certain days. Like Mondays, I know I have this call at 5. So I use this to have Monday's usually like my errands day, everything I have to do for the house, for my personal self, anything I have to do, I get it done on Mondays and base my entire day around this 5 p.m. call because by 5 p.m. I'm going to sit down and the rest of the list that I had for Monday needs to be done. Tuesday, I'm doing this bookkeeping. So for sure, first thing in the morning on Tuesday, I know I'm going to get my bookkeeping completed. And then I have to list. And it's always list. Every day will be consisting of listing, but I know Monday's the mastermind call, so my errands needs to be in the beginning. That includes laundry and my house cleaned. Tuesday, you got bookkeeping, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, either sourcing or listing, but right now I'm not sourcing at the moment. So I'm just listing. And then Friday goes into winding down, prepping for the weekend. Like, what are the plans for the weekend? Am I going to be garage selling or not? Saturday morning, it's either garage sale or do activities with my boyfriend. That would be the time frame where I do Saturdays. And then Sunday would be planned again for the following week. Are we going to have any events going on? Am I going to go sourcing? It's pretty much just setting. And so I know all of the days mean something. And I'm not rushing. I'm not wondering when I'm going to do bookkeeping or when I'm going to source or when I'm going to have this call. That's most of the stuff that I do for the week. Like life, there's some things that pop up and you have no control over, but you try to incorporate that in whatever plan I have. What I do have a problem with now, I think Tim Ferriss mentioned that, where you need to have you time in the beginning and then like serve yourself and then be ready to open emails, be ready to talk to other people. And what I do is first thing I turn the lights on. I mean, I have my tea, but then I go take my tea with me to the desk. So maybe if I could probably pull back a little bit, work out and come back or meditate. I need to implement a little bit more meditation my boyfriend does transcendental meditation, and it's really expensive in the beginning. And I have done the float clinic. I think I mentioned that to you, Chris. It's
I want to try a 24-hour flow, but go ahead.
I didn't know that was a thing, but yeah, there's so you're basically floating. That's a different type of meditation where you're
sensory deprived.
Yeah, sensory deprived from all of your senses. So I've tried that, and I felt like that was pretty cool. You have to go there with no expectations, of course, but when I went there, it was like transformational. Anyway, so based on that type of meditation, I thought it would be a good thing if I picked it up. Of course, maybe not go every day, but some type of me time besides, working out would be something I'd like to implement besides the rigid day-by-day plan.
One thing I want to mention on that with they say that free space and you need free space in front of you to get free space in your mind. And this is why rich people don't mind paying $1 million more for a higher view, because that open space creates open space in their mind. I think that's very, very interesting. Like people will pay $1 million more to be 2 floors higher. And just that open space. And then that's like when you're listing, if you see unlisted inventory in your listing space, you're not going to be able to list effectively, because that's like taking up room in your brain. You want to have a clear area. When you're meditating, if your eyes are closed, then it should be clear. Escape. And I think that is cool. Tim Ferriss also says, if you don't have time, that means you don't have priorities.
Yeah.
And I like that saying a lot, because it forces you to think, why don't I have time? What is it? We all have the same day. Why do I not have time and some people do have time? So
you have to plan it in.
Holly, thoughts?
Yeah, I actually have a big problem with that, like having a whole day go by and nothing is effectively done. And as far as I can tell, the problem is that I've learned but I've been busy. But I've learned that being busy does not mean you're accomplishing things. So it's a lot about making those lists. I'm actually going to make a list of 3 things tonight, being intentional with what you do. I like that 3. And Mary, I've done the floating. I did that the first time in Vegas, and we're going to go every year and do it. It was neat. For me, I fell asleep. For me, it wasn't life-changing, but that is along the lines of my second thing. Which is mental health related, I suppose. I don't know that we need to, like when we say health, we don't say for ourselves, we don't say our physical health, but for mental health, we say mental health. And I think it is all tied together. But something I learned a few years ago is the importance of the internal dialogue that we all have. We all have something that we say to ourselves, things we say all the time. And I was like I was sad. And what I found from someone asking me and discussing is that my internal dialogue was very negative. And your internal dialogue becomes your truth. So for example, if you don't get anything done in a day, and I was not, my internal dialogue wouldn't be, oh, well, I can do better tomorrow. It would be, you're lazy, you suck, you can't do things. And so, to switch that around, someone taught me about challenging those thoughts actively. And something I do every day as a part of that is a GLAD. And I've talked about it before. And the GLAD is an acronym for it's living with gratitude, really. And every day you pick something in that day that you are grateful for, learned, accomplished, and delighted in. And if you do that every day, it really, I mean, you can look up some studies on it. There's some fantastic information, but it just changes your outlook and gives you a lot more self-satisfaction. So to me, that's something important that I've learned, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing. Just living with gratitude. Yeah.
That's awesome. Internal dialogue is huge, guys. I hear people all the time that are like, that's 10 cents. That's expensive. I'm like, stop telling yourself 10 cents is expensive. Like I've had some bad days. Like I remember I was in New York and I bought my friend Leah an ice cream, and that was half my net worth, that ice cream that I spent on her. I didn't even get an ice cream for myself because of how challenging that was living in New York City with $3,000 rent. Like, I've been broke before, and 10 cents was never a lot of money. So don't program yourself into that. Like, it's not like, if I love Ramit Sethi, and he is talking about, like, if you don't drink a latte every day, that's $73,000 over the course of your life, which is essentially nothing when you look at your earning potential. And if you're worried and you think $5 is expensive, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You need to increase your income. Like, I love thinking about, like, Uncle G with Grant Cardone, when he's like, hey, if you make a lot of money, imagine putting 400 grand into your savings. There's people who put millions of dollars into their savings every single month. Like, if you have under $100,000 in debt, you don't have a spending problem usually. You just have an income problem. Unless you're extravagant and buying ridiculous stuff, you usually just have an income problem, not a spending problem. Like, not buying that one Starbucks is not going to ruin your situation. Just think about making more and thinking about saving time. Like, if you're focused on saving time, I think that's more important than saving money. That's a very opinionated answer to what you were saying, but I just think I'm just excited about internal dialogue. Like, I hate when people say 10 cents is expensive. I'm like, compared to what? How is that expensive? That's bad programming.
Would it be comparable to people that say I ran out of listings?
Right.
Should I pay 10, 15 cents? I mean, why not if you're going to make more money, right?
I know. It's all self-programming. Laura, what do you think?
I think when it comes to listing, I think it really depends on your bottom line, just like anything else. For me, my husband's income recently went up, which is great, but we are living on my income. So that bottom line at the end of the day, like, my fees need to be minimum, because that $100 can pay for my groceries for the week, right? So, I mean, I think it's just also on outlook. And I wanted to add that I don't know if you guys know my background, but my husband and I lived in an RV for 2 years to get out of debt. And during that time, we became minimalists. And I cannot stress enough what objects in our life equals time. And I've realized that, and I've kind of gotten away from it a little bit the past couple months, and I'm really focusing in the future on getting back on track, because my business has accumulated stuff, and I'm realizing more and more that I'm not in control of my business as much, because my time is running away from me with objects that I have in my store that I shouldn't be spending my time on. And so I'm spending a lot of time backtracking, trying to get rid of the stuff that I shouldn't be spending my time on. So I think also too, we have to think of stuff equals time, and not just things in our business. I mean, things in our house, things on our bills. I don't know how you guys feel about Dave Ramsey, but he helped us get out of debt, so I'm in love with him. He says, quit trying to make ends meet and think about having less ends. Like, having less things for your income to go towards. And for me, that ties right into minimalism. Just having less in your life in general can really make space for what's important. So now that I'm feeling well, this next week, I am combing through my house. I'm donating like crazy. I'm putting things on auction. Half my store's on auction right now, because I just need to lighten the load in my brain space, in my physical space, everywhere. And I think it's just like, we take for granted because we're so consumer driven in the US. And I mean, thank goodness for that, because we would be out of business, right? So it's kind of a catch-22. But at the same time, like, for me personally, the less crap, the better.
I agree with that, and I think this is like interesting. Like, I'm a huge lean nerd, and like in Japan, if you go to the Toyota factory, they don't have garbage cans, not because they don't have things that there's literally nothing to throw away. They order the exact materials they use. There's no waste. They unload a semi truck in like 7 minutes because everything is organized. There's no waste. There's no storage. Everything's ordered exactly what they need, and Like there's no extra space to store things that aren't used till next week because only the stuff that for that week arrives. And I mean, they've been doing tiny improvements to reduce things over the years. And like I'm a minimalist, but I don't like Dave Ramsey. And I know I'm like in a very small pool of people that don't like him, but I just think that it's so restricting. Like I agree, you shouldn't have a lot of things. There should be less ends to me, but like I think that the focus should be on generating value for the world. I think if we had a few million more entrepreneurs, then I think a lot of the problems in the world would be solved. People would be reducing stuff because like entrepreneurs, you know, when I work for Lexus, I go to somebody's $1 million home and they wouldn't have any furniture. Like they're just like, we are in this one room and, you know, and they don't need money. They're just out there generating more value, whatever they're doing, whatever their cause is. I think that focus should be on that and not saving. But I get it. I mean, you shouldn't have a lot of overhead and a lot of things in your life that are wasteful or drive your attention away. Like Dave Ramsey was talking about like his Jaguar and all that stuff. And it's just interesting listening to him when I look at that mentality, because I feel like when I meet people who make a lot of money, they're nothing about them is restrictive. They're all open, vast spans, lots of thinking out. So anyway, that being said, Dave Ramsey's cool. I'm all right with him. He's just not my favorite.
No, I mean, personally, I'm not saying I agree with everything he said. I agree with his system.
And I'm not saying I disagree with everything, including his face, but like, he's all good.
I agree with his method of getting out of debt. And I think millions of people would agree with me
Definitely.
that, you know, we didn't follow it to a T either. I mean, we had certain things that we did a little out of order than what he says, but I mean, you have to mold it to your own personal situation, you know? But yeah, no, Chris, I'm not going to hate you because you don't like Dave Ramsey. I promise. We're still friends.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing with that is it also depends on, like, for Chris, I know you're saying for a long time you didn't know what your why was. For me, like, saving money is important to me because my money is either going to be for my kids, for my community, and for the future. Like, I want to make money to give it away, if that makes sense.
No, I'm just saying, I think people, like for me, when I look at like income generating people, like when they're like, hey, we're raising money for a school, and you know, all the stuff and all the cool stuff in the world is paid for by people who have way excess money. You know, they have way more money than the charity that the 1% gives away is mind boggling. You know, like they're writing checks for, you need money for your school. How much is it? I'll just write a check. That's so inspiring to me, to focus all your effort on making as much as possible, in being abundant, so you can do that. That's the part that I think that the focus should be. This is why I don't like Dave Ramsey. But I love the fact that you should be frugal and save your money. I agree with that. I'm just saying, put all your attention on providing as much value to the world. But I don't want to beat this topic up too much.
Oh, no. I think you have it wrong too, Chris. Honestly, let me just touch on that for a second, because he says live like nobody does now so you can live like nobody does later, which means pay off your debt, get rid of all your stuff, get rid of the things holding you back. So when you do make that money, like what you're saying, you can contribute like that. You can give like nobody else. And that's the point. It's not that, oh, you should hold yourself back. Yeah, you should hold yourself back because you're in piles and piles of shit of debt. Like that's
I'm just saying that I think that that's, for me, not the way to go, because you shouldn't be in debt in the first place. But I get it. I get what you're saying. If you're in debt and you want to move that direction, it works. But why don't we just go to Kevin? Kevin, what is your life balance idea?
So as far as the life balance piece, I'm not very good at balancing life and work. I'm probably the worst person on this call for that. I am a workaholic. I was listening to somebody else, one of these mentors like you guys are talking about, Dave Ramsey, Gary Vee. I was listening to one of them earlier saying that some of their relationships have been hurt from the amount that they work, and I think that speaks a lot to me. I tried very hard to not let that happen, but while I was listening to each person go through and give some type of value, it made me think of something that I remember doing a couple years ago. I think I was like 20. I realized that there's a lot of people my age, and maybe it's just my generation, or maybe it's people older than me, I really don't know, that spend so much time consumed on involving themselves in either things that don't matter or in people that don't matter. And I basically audited my circle. So the people I keep close to me, the people that I spend my time around, the people that I absorb content from. Because believe it or not, if you're sitting on Facebook and you're going through statuses, you are absorbing that content. You are directly related from the people you associate yourself around. I would say that, to be completely honest here, during that time where I did that audit, I wouldn't even be shocked by saying that I literally audited all of the friends I had and had no one. Like, I worked. That was my solution. Was this made me upset. I spent a ton of time thinking about this, which meant nothing. And at the end of the day, the thing that mattered to me, and the thing that always kept making me feel better about what I was doing and making me feel like I was doing something more, was the work, was the hustle. And I realized that when I was younger, and I'm still young now, but I've still practiced that. I mean, I really do not spend any time. I don't spend time on social media the way a lot of people do. The social media I do now is to document most of the stuff that I'm doing and interacting with the people that I think will actually value the content I give or use it. So yeah, I spend no time. I would say less than 1% of my life lately is spent thinking about anybody like anybody besides my immediate circle, my family, you guys I would consider in my circle, just close people that I relate with, and there's very few now because I audited it. And I don't think that was a bad thing. I think that that's helped me do what I do now, and I think that I've given more. I've been able to, Ashley the other day was having a situation where she wasn't feeling like up to where she should be, or maybe she was just feeling down. I was able to understand it. And not only that, I realized it without her even saying it. I sent her a message and we talked that out. I love that I'm able to do that because I'm not focused on the 20 people saying my baby daddy and I, or, some stupid post on Facebook and something like that. I don't focus on it. So I would say that that's something that saved me a lot of time, and that's been a huge balance for me. I focus on what's in front of me, and throughout the day, I try to relate back to what can I do now. So if I catch myself at all, which very rarely happens being bored, I will literally there's always something to do, and I find something for myself to keep myself busy, or check something off a list. I use Google Keep, and I have a list, and I try to get everything knocked off. And I think that every one of us talked about planning, and each time somebody said something, I think that planning was related. So I think that planning is huge, being able to plan and strategize.
So I'll be perfectly honest. So this group that I've created of everyone, including you guys, is not designed to be fun necessarily. It's designed to challenge me. And also it perpetually makes me uncomfortable before I join every one of the calls or all the people that I meet, because I'm looking for a progressive relationship, which is by nature hard. Actually every single call feels like she hasn't done enough for the call, even though she's basically perfect the way it is. And everything is moving up. But if you're in a group like this, you're going to feel uncomfortable and challenged, instead of groups that, I'm not going to badmouth other groups, but where people commiserate together. It's different, right? And I would rather have a smaller group where we're perpetually pushing each other, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It is. It's not. It's like some people call these calls carving stations because of how you feel afterwards. You're like, okay, I got to go back and reevaluate my life every freaking week because you want to just improve and adjust and tweak. And be the best mom, person, human, partner, cook, fitness athlete you can. It's a lot. So it's hard to fit it all in there. And that's the purpose of this group. I just want you guys to know that hopefully it's a little bit painful to have to do it.
I agree. If you don't, they say it's on the other side of comfort, right? Success is on the other side. It's when you grow.
Mm-hmm. I love your workout doesn't count until it starts to hurt. And I just want to get to that point. Like the guy that I am obsessed with right now, I forgot his name. For some reason, I love Navy SEALs, but this guy was just talking about how like he said, who on earth would still be doing this right now? He asks himself that question when things start getting tough. And he's like, I am. I would be the only person on earth still doing this right now. And I think that that's cool to push yourself like kind of to that. We don't need to be Navy SEALs and drowning ourselves and resuscitating that hardcore. But like this guy, like he ran 30 more miles after having 2 broken feet, like in an endurance race. Like who on earth would have done that? Only him. So it's
is this the same guy that said, I think I know this guy who like,
it's Goggin, David Goggin, I think.
Said, okay, like when you're absolutely done, you're only 40% done. Is that guy? Like I think like when you think you're just done, complete, finish the marathon, bone tired, he's like, you're 40%. I love that. I'll have to listen to more of his stuff.
There's so much more
true.
deep in your life. And he's so good at like 3 things. That's why I think I can't wait to have kids and tell them you can be a couple things. You can be anything that like a few. You can be a few things.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. I was like one of those overachievers growing up. Like I did everything when I was a teenager. But I'm like forcing my kids to pick, like
I like the mastery.
Energy. Yeah, be a master. Don't just like be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, being a master is cool. Then you learn that discipline of learning how to become a master at something. You can do it with whatever. If you do it one time, you can apply it to any other process. That's like people who become the world's best chess player learn tennis after because they already know how to do that. So I think that's cool. We're getting pretty late, guys. Why don't you give a final thought if you have one? Let people know where they can find you, starting with Ashley.
Final thoughts. This was really good. And I'm like, you're right. Like it should feel the growth is not comfortable. It just isn't. If I wanted to stay the same, then I would never have always sought something. I always looked for something else, like writing, whatever it was. I always had something else going on. And like on the days where I'm like, I just want to give up. This is so hard. Like, I think it's supposed to be kind of hard. And that's what makes it really good. So that's the hard that makes it great. It's like from League of Their Own, right? Tom Hanks says that, but it's true. And you guys can find me at Hustle at Home Mom on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and I have a website also.
Awesome. Prince?
Okay, so I just want to give one bonus tip because I feel like something you guys were talking about like really sparked it in me. The word gratitude. I feel like that's all that I live by. I feel like, even if everything was stripped from me, everything eBay, I can tell you that I wouldn't be that upset. I would just work harder because like that's something that I've developed. It's second nature. Just work harder when something's going bad or something, something you got taken away from you. And at the end of the day, after everything's said and done, if you're alive, you're winning. Like all of us, we should be grateful for that fact, period. There are far less fortunate people who could only dream of being able to do something like this or, anything. Like some people can't even walk. So, I always like keep that in the back of my head. And I'm always reminding myself of that. And that motivates me to work harder because I don't want to take this for granted. So yeah, I just want to say that. But if you want to find me, my Instagram handle is PrincePBiz. I post the good, the bad, and the ugly. So check me out.
Awesome. Laura, where can people find you? And a final thought if you have one.
Well, you can find me at Thrifty Boss Babe, both on YouTube and on Instagram. And I'm going to add one more word on top of gratitude. And Ashley and I talked about this too, is grace. Grace for yourself, grace for other people, grace with your time. Just, find heart in what you're doing and with other people.
Awesome. Kevin?
Yeah. So my final thought would be probably based around the fact that each one of us here has worked hard for months or years in the dark until the success finally came to light. So a lot of people I know from getting the messages myself and from just communicating with everybody here in the mastermind chats, I know we get a ton of messages, you're so lucky and stuff like that. There is no luck to it. The hard work needs to be happening every single day, and you're going to do it for a long, long time, and you're going to do it you're going to over-index in it before anybody sees the real reason to do it that the way you see it. So that would be my final thought. One other thing I want to say is prayers go out to anybody with family in Texas and in Florida. That's terrible, and I definitely feel for everybody. And besides that, the place to find me is on Instagram. My handle is @theclutchswag. And I'm on there all the time. I try to post as much valuable stuff as I can, and I try not to post anything besides that. So that's it.
Mary, final thought, and where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at feelgoodfinds with the Z. As far as touching on what you guys said for final thoughts, we only have one life to live, right? You just want to make the best of it. And like you said, Kevin, there's no luck. Just baby steps into whatever it is, whether it's planning your days, your weeks, your health, your diets, your family, your relationships, etc. There's baby steps to everything. So go at your own pace and find your place. Just remember to be happy where you're at while working towards where you want to be.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for stopping by. We'll see everybody next week.